everyone. So the purpose of this video is to discuss, as usual, the steps that you will be taking to conduct Lab 3. So in Lab 3, you are learning more about the actual measurements of density. So in this lab, not only will you revisit the topic about density, because at this point in time, in comparison to lecture, you've already learned about density, calculating density. You know that density is mass over volume, but you will also, like I said, learn more about measuring density. So you will open up your Hayden McNeil online lab course, and from there you will go to your My Courses, and I probably should have typed that step in, but hopefully after Lab 2 you're a little bit more familiar with this, and there's really not much to explore. There's on Hayden McNeil, there's not much tabs or anything to the point where oh my god, I'm gonna get lost. So Hayden McNeil, and then click My Courses, open up this lab course, and then from there you'll open up your Lab 3. You can open the actual lab site up where the introduction and the lab simulation is available by clicking the little green notebook icon, or just clicking on the words Lab 3 density. And I'm going to show you how that actually looks on the website in just a second. You will then read the introduction. It's usually on split on 2 pages. The first part is the introduction, and then the second page is where the actual procedure is at. You're always provided that introduction, so there's always background information for you to read. So on page 2, you're going to open the simulation by clicking this virtual lab icon that they have. So you'll always see that icon, and whenever you want to access the lab simulation, that's what you click on. Okay, so now to the good part. So you are going to complete experiments 1 and 3 only. So omit 2 and 4. So right off the bat, just leave those behind. On page 2 of this lab on the website, it gives you 4 total experiments, right? Experiment 1, 2, 3, 4. Omit 2 and 4. Okay, what we're focusing on is experiment 1 and 3. Okay, and from there you are essentially going to collect all your data in part 3, data collection. Now, some really important information regarding the lab, or regarding these experiments 1 and 3. So for experiment 1, there's 3 portions to it, and you'll see right now when I scroll down and get to the data collection part. But for experiment 1, there's a water experiment, there's an ethanol experiment, and then there's also an iron experiment. So there's 3 parts essentially to experiment 1. You're going to do all of them, okay? You're going to collect data for all of them, but I want you to pick one of those 3 and show the calculations for it. Okay, so I'm going to give you that freedom and let you pick which one of the water, of the ethanol, and of the iron part, and I want you to show the calculations for them. So pick one of those 3, whichever one you want. Show all calculations with all sig figs, with all units, everything, okay? You don't have to show the calculations for the other 2 parts, but you do have to collect that data, okay? But I want you to, show those calculations on the page that you turn in for one of those. Okay, so that's experiment 1. Now for experiment 3, luckily there's only 1 part to it. There's no sub parts or anything. Experiment 3, just 1 set of things you're doing essentially. I do want you to show calculations for that. So total, there are 2 full pages of calculations that you'll be filling in. Okay, some notes and tips regarding experiment 1 and 3. If you happen to double click on the cylinder in order to read the meniscus, sometimes it may take several tries to get it to work. That's okay, just keep trying. For water and ethanol, 3 sig figs are what can be used for your densities. For the iron and the aluminum, just 2 sig figs, because we're working with such small volumes. That small volume is affecting your overall final sig figs at the end. Okay. And then this is just telling you basically follow the procedure. There's 3 times that you're doing this process for the metals, with 15 grams, with 30 grams, with 45 grams, and that's outlined in the procedure. This experiment may be a little bit time consuming. That's why we omit experiment 2 and 4. That would be way too much. So just experiments 1 and 3. And then from there, usual routine, you'll upload the lab. You'll do that by scanning it, or taking pictures, converting it to PDF. However it is that you upload, by converting it to one single file PDF, and then upload it to the Blackboard link. You don't need to submit anything on the Hayden McNeil website itself. All you have to do is use the website to collect your information that you need. Okay, so data collection. This section will help clear things up regarding the parts of experiment 1 versus experiment 3. So experiment 1, like we said, 3 portions to this. First part is the water. So you can see that you're collecting a lot of data for it, right? And the procedure on the Hayden McNeil website walks you through it, so don't worry. It walks you through it step by step. So what you do is you collect the data and just report it to me here. Notice that this is in order. So that's on purpose because, for example, here you need to average out the density from certain lines, and that's the reason they're numbered like that. Okay. And then ethanol, basically you're repeating the same thing, except with a different substance, ethanol, right? So you'll get the gist of it once you get into it and you're repeating it over and over. And then for experiment 3, you're working with a metal, so a solid instead of a liquid, okay? But essentially same idea. And then, like I said, in the procedure, I would like for you to pick one of those 3, either the water, the ethanol, or the iron, and then show the calculations for it, okay? And I gave you that box to show all those calculations. You can do them by hand. You can do them by, if you use your iPad, if you have an iPad and you're writing with your Apple Pencil, you can do that. You can do it, with Word, but it can get very confusing real quick. So I recommend either by hand or by tablet, or if you're going to use Word, use the actual equation so I can see for example, when you're dividing mass by volume, it just looks nicer and cleaner and more obvious to me, what your calculations are when you're properly showing things being divided and fractions, things like that. Anyway, so that's experiment 1. And then experiment 3, this is the last of it, almost at the end. There's a procedure to it, and then you're collecting the data again as well, still numbered, right? You can see that there's some certain things that may be duplicate. See how this says same as line 55, same as line 56, so you'll go back up there and you'll record it down here. And then at the end you're getting the average, and then show all the calculations. So that is everything you're including in what you turn in to Blackboard. And now this is the Hayden McNeil site, okay? So you completed lab 2. This right here is lab 3. It should be showing by the time you're watching this video. And you open it up you can just click here, or the little green notebook. Don't worry that it says 13. I always customize everything to make sure that it has the correct lab number, so just ignore that 13. And yeah, it shows you the equations you're going to be using, gives you examples, shows you figures, pictures. It's really good. And then, of course, you have your little lab simulation here. I'm not going to open it up because you probably have already opened it up enough times and you're going to use it again this time. But you know, it takes you to the little virtual workbench where you open things and move things to the workbench and, you know, measure things, everything. But here's experiment 1, right? You're finding the density of various liquids. Remember, we're omitting experiment 2. You don't have to worry about that. And then you are completing experiment 3, okay? Again, omit experiment 4. So omit experiment 2 and 4. And you're just working on 1 and 3. Okay, so that is what you're completing for lab 3. As always, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm here to answer them. If you need any extensions, just let me know as well. Thank you, and again, email me if you have any questions.